all the system level configurations are done under the system configurations grouping. Anything related to the functional module, those are all configured under the functional configurations grouping. You see here, there are various forms: feature settings, business units, budget management, contract management, resource management. All these elements, the settings related to these functionalities are captured under the functional configurations folder structure. Now let me demonstrate each of that. And I'll also show you how it is impacting the functional modules directly. Now, where do we see the functional configurations grouping? It's right below the system configurations. I have expanded it and all of these forms are listed here. I'll start one by one. Feature settings. Feature settings, as the name suggests, Aurigo Essentials has various features which we have either enabled or disabled based on what the customers want. A simple example would be in the contract. Let's say I am in the contracts list page. So this is the contract list page, and you see an option called copy, right? If the customer does not want any of the contract managers to copy an existing contract, they want every detail to be written down right from scratch within Essentials. In that case, if they want to disable the copy functionality completely across all the contracts within the system, that feature can be marked as inactive. So right now, copy contract is enabled. If an administrator, as an organization, we decide that copy functionality we do not want to be enabled, administrator can come, select here, and mark it as inactive. Again, these are very crucial features. If anything is changed here, it will have an impact across the system, across all these features. So you see here, these are all grouped based on the feature. All the topics related to bid estimate feature is here. All the topics related to budget estimate is here. Likewise, you have these groupings. Under each grouping, you have some of the features are marked as active, some of the features marked as inactive. You have, likewise, there are 3 pages worth of features. This can be set up as an active or inactive based on what the organization displays. As you see here, you have a lot of these options. Hide recent projects. When you notice here, when I go to this, there is a recent projects folder structure here under projects, but you do not see a recent project section in the home module. If you want to access the recently visited projects from the home module itself, that particular feature can be enabled. You see here under enterprise management, hide recent projects is enabled. If this particular feature had to be disabled, then what will happen as a result? The recent projects folder will be enabled under home module as well. So right now, we have it here, but if we want to hide it, then you can go ahead and disable that feature. So likewise, so many features are there. We can read through it and decide what to do as an administrator. The only thing that they will do is come here, mark that option, and there will be an option right here, which is saying mark active or inactive. They can go ahead and do it in the feature settings form. Okay. Next is business units. Business units is a very important form because based on the business units assigned, a user will be invited to a project, or a project will be added, or a contract, whatever that case may be. Business unit is an important attribute. How do you configure a business unit? As an administrator, you would come to the business units form. When you click new, you will be required to provide the categorization that the organization has decided, whether this business unit is the parent business unit, or you can have n number of sub business units as well, child business units as well. Let's say there is a higher level business unit called services. Under that, there can be consultant services, contract services. Likewise, there can be multiple sub business units as well. So you can configure all of those, provide an appropriate description for it, and mark it as active. By default, it is marked as active. At any point, if you want to mark a business unit as inactive, then that business unit will not be available for a user when a user account is created. It will not be available for a project when a project wants to get associated to a business unit. But you need to keep in mind, if a business unit is already associated to to a user account or a project, that unit cannot be deactivated if there is an existing association prevalent. Before they do so, they need to go disassociate that user account from the PU, disassociate the project from that PU, and then the administrator can come back here and mark the BU as inactive. It's a simple form, but it's a significant feature. Business unit is an important functionality. That is what we do here. You can edit a business unit which is already created. These are default reports that come for any XML forms. I will get to these things when I talk about the functional forms. Beyond that, there are certain additional features. You are familiar with some of them. When I talk about the getting started form, getting started training, I'll talk about the toolbar options in detail. Filter house as well, I will talk about it when I talk about the getting started training. But for you as an administrator, what you need to be aware of is this is where you define your business unit. Right now, there are so many business units configured in the essentials build, and all of them are marked as a root. That means all of them are parent business units. They don't have any child business units as of now. If I'm creating a business unit under public services, how would I do that? I go here. I just create a business unit called consultant services, and I say it is not the root. Then it will ask me, then what would be the root business unit for this business unit? From here, I can pick all of it. If public services is my root business unit, I select it here and I save. The moment I save it, you would notice that I have created a business unit called consultant services, whose parent business unit is public service. It is not a root business unit. It is an active business unit. Now, when I go to user accounts and I try to associate a business unit, I will see this as well. When I go to the user accounts and talk to you about associating a business unit, I will highlight this piece as well. But for you right now, business units, this is what we do in this form. Next topic is budget management. Budget management for any project, there has to be a budget. And when there is a budget, we would also be talking about the forecast, the spread of the amount across the duration of the project. So that is the forecast spread. How would you want to view the forecast spread? Would you want to view the forecast spread monthly? So every month, how is the budget spread out linearly? Would you want to see it that way, or you want to see it at a yearly level? That is what you configure it here. Right now, it says yearly with the fiscal start as January. That means when I go to any project, let's say I'm going back to the same project that I'm using, Carroll Street extension. Under this project, we have budget estimates, right? Inside a budget estimate, there will be forecast for each budget estimate. So I have this budget estimate, which is approved. If I go to this budget estimate and I click forecast to see the forecast of this budget estimate, how is it spread out and all of that. So we have these forecasts, out of which this particular budget revision forecast is approved. Let me see how is it spread out. So I'm viewing that forecast. I go to item details. So you have all of these items which are part of the particular budget item listed here, and you have your amount and remaining amount. So if I want to view that forecast spread, when we looked at this forecast spread, do you know where exactly would we see the spread of it? We have a budget estimate which we would be creating a forecast as well for. We have the spread of each item, start time and end time. If it is going for one whole year, every month, how much it is spread out in a linear fashion, it will be spread out. When I was trying out during the practice as well as now, what I'm seeing is the remaining amount, but the actual spread is not coming. The start date is 2021 and the end date is 2024. So basically, what it means is it's a 3-year project. The budget value of around $20,000 or so for that particular project. So in this case, if I'm creating a forecast, that forecast would spread out for this entire 3-year duration. Each year will have a linear spread of budget allocated for that year. So when that happens, if you want to see how it is spread out, do you want that linear distribution to be spread out on a yearly basis or on a monthly basis? Right now it says yearly. And if I say January, then that spread is from January to December 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. For 4 columns, it will be spread out. And for each year, each column, there will be an amount which will be identified as the budget for that particular year. If we change it to monthly, then for those 4 years, every month, that if earlier the 2021's budget spread was, let's say, $20,000. Now it is spread out for each month. So the 20,000 divided by 12, that's the linear spread. So each month will have that much amount spread out. So we have a visual representation of how the amount is spread out and how the forecast is spread out. It's a linear forecast, as I mentioned. Essentials, by default, it has a linear spread. If I go back to yearly, it is saying January. If I pick any other month, what will happen is, because it is January, the spread will have a column name as 2021, 2022 for each column. If I pick any other month, then what will happen? April 2021 to March 2022. So that column, it will not have a single number. It will have a 2021-2022. The next column will have 2022-2023. The third column will have 2023-2024. So for each of this duration, because the start month is in the previous year and the end month is in the next year for each year, 12 months period. So that is budget management. So contract management, as you see here, whenever a contractor is raising an invoice, in this case, if they are posting items for which a pay estimate is generated, by default, for each pay estimate that is getting generated, if the owner wants to retain a certain percentage, 5% of each bill the contractor raises, if you want to do it as a retainage, you will do it here. In addition, when a final pay estimate needs to get generated, what are all the prerequisites that needs to be checked before a final pay estimate can be created? Contract items need to be marked as complete. All the existing change orders should be in approved status. If there are any balance change orders, if they are there, they needs to be approved as well. And if there are any item postings or daily progress reports, all of these need to be approved. So these are all some mandatory checks that are by default marked for validation. In addition, there are some optional options like submittals, transmittals, punch list, RFI. If the administrator wants to enable any of these as well, they can enable that so that the system checks for these validations before a final pay estimate can be created and approved upon. So this is the setting. And as an administrator, they will validate everything and save the record. Why is it marked under contract? Because pay estimate is specific to a contract. Okay. Let me move on to the resource management. As you know, Essentials has the ability to manage resources. When I say that, when a project has a schedule created, each schedule will have certain tasks associated to it. So for a task, you will have a start and end date. You will have resources identified for that task. So let's say a particular resource is identified for multiple tasks. How will the system know that this particular resource has been overutilized, has been overbooked? You would have to provide the percentages here. So you see here, there are three line items: overutilization, underutilization, and optimal utilization. So when the total number of hours booked against a resource is up to 85% of their total availability, that means that resource is optimally utilized. Let's say that person can work only for 6 hours a day. If 6 hours of work is assigned for them, or let's say 5 hours of work is assigned for them, it's about 80%, 85%. That means that resource is optimally utilized. Anything more than that, how will you know that this person is overutilized? 6 hours is the maximum that this person can work on a particular day. If there are two tasks against which this resource is mapped, which adds up to 8 hours, that means it's more than 100% utilization. Then that particular resource will be marked as overutilized. If that resource is utilized only for less than 3 hours, if they can be eligible to be utilized for up to 6 hours, they are utilized only for 3 hours, then they are underutilized. So that percentage is what you configure here. So any resource that is utilized more than 100%, they are called out as overutilized. Any resource that is utilized up to equal to 85, exactly at 85%, they are optimally utilized. Anybody who is utilized for less than 50% of the total available utilization, they are marked as underutilized. You can change it. You can change this to 100. You can change this to 95. You can change this to 70. It's up to the customer. Moving on to issue log configuration. Issue log configuration, just one single setting. If I go back to the project in itself, you have risks and issues. I go to issue log record. Issue log, as the name suggests, this is the place where you would mark all the issues. Anytime an issue happens, you would log it here. You would assign a resource. You would assign a due date against which you will track the issues. If you have assigned a due date and the issue has not been resolved by that due date, you would want to highlight that in a different color. So as you notice here, this particular issue was supposed to be resolved by 3/22/2021, but the workflow status is still in new. It has to be submitted, it has to be worked on, that is in progress, and then it has to be marked as resolved as well. Because this is still not resolved and then the due date is passed, this line item is in red color. So it grabs the project manager's attention immediately. You would notice that there are previous dates, due dates, but they are marked as resolved. So before the due date was achieved, they had completed it. That's why this record is marked as, this record is not marked in any different color. How will I know that this is red because it has passed the due date? Because in this setting, issues due color is marked as red. We have three other options. You can mark it as yellow or green, based on which that line item will be marked in a different color. This is just a visual representation to grab the attention of the project manager. When they come to the issues, they know by looking at it, they know which are the issues are past the due date but is still open. Okay. That is the purpose of this particular setup. Next one is mobile application settings. Even though it says mobile application settings, it has a clubbing of mobile related as well as document management related. I'll talk about that as well. First is document management configurations. Enable document viewer and annotation. As you know, we have a very solid and robust document management facility in Essentials. I am in the functional module. We have documents. We have an entire folder structure for documents to be managed. Any type of document, we have the ability to add annotations to those documents as well. And we have a document viewer. This is a PDF file. If I want to view this file, if the viewer is enabled properly, the system will let me view this file. So that is document viewer, right? Would I want to enable the document viewer? Would I want to enable the annotation facility for my document management system? I would select the checkbox here. Or if I just want to upload documents, I don't want anybody to view the document. I don't want anybody to annotate the document. I just want to maintain a document as a folder repository, like a SharePoint. Then I can clear this checkbox. Because document viewer is enabled, I'm able to view this particular document. It takes a little time to load. If the viewer is enabled fine, then I will be able to view the document like I see here. This is a PDF file. And once it loads fully, I will be able to see the actual file. The next is get inactive projects in Outlook plugin. If I am in my Outlook and I want to save any of the emails that I received, any important emails, I want to store it in my document folder structure. So let's say there is a structure folder called approval emails. And I want to save all the emails that I received related to approval of any milestones. I want to store it in my folder structure within Essentials. Then what will I do? For every project and every contract within the project, I will have those folder structures connected to my Outlook plugin. So when I get any email, I right click that email and save it in the appropriate folder structure. That is the typical functionality. However, if you do not want the list of projects available for me to move those mails to, if those projects are inactive, they are not active anymore, do you still want those projects to be listed for you to store your important emails within them? Or you want to view only the active projects and contracts that you want to move those files to? If you want to have that control, you can select it. In this case, get inactive projects in Outlook plugin is not selected. That means when I am in my Outlook and I right click an email and I go save, move to Outlook, when that option comes in here, when I click the project picker, I will see all the pickers list. I'm not showing anything. I'm just moving the mouse here. So all the projects that are listed, it will only show the active projects. If I select this checkbox, projects that are active and inactive, everything will be listed for me to move my files to. So that is the functionality here. Now let me talk about the mobile related features. This is called as form setting. It's a very self-explanatory sentence. It says last number of days plus current day approved or final stage records to be maintained offline. And we have a couple of forms here. I'll give you the scenario. Let's say there is an issue log that you are trying to capture using your mobile device. You go to the site, you capture, these are all the issues that I am noticing in your issue log record from the mobile device. And then when you come back to the main office, you work on those issues and you mark them as resolved, unclosed. So let's say closed is the final workflow stage of that particular record. Likewise, there are 100 issues that you have documented, out of which 50 are resolved unclosed. Closed being the final workflow stage. Out of 100 records, 50 are already closed. But that issue log is accessed from the mobile device as well. When you are opening your mobile device every single time, would you want these 100 records to be downloaded in the mobile cache or only the ones that are currently in progress or new? The closed issues, if you don't want to see them in the mobile device anymore, you can provide that here. So in here, if I put 5 days, what will happen? Let's say there are issues that are closed. You would still want to see those closed issues for 5 days from the day it got closed from your mobile device. So that you also seeing, okay, in the last 5 days, what are the issues that I've closed? Beyond the fifth day, those records will not be seen in the mobile device anymore. It will only be available in the web server to save space in the mobile device. I don't want to download 100 records every single time. I have resolved these 50 records. I don't want to see them anymore in the mobile cache. If you want to indicate that, you provide that number here and you provide the forms for which you want to enable this functionality. Okay. So these are mobile application settings. Again, these are related to document management and mobile. These are functional modules. That's why it is under functional configuration. Next is important notifications. Important notifications is a very simple form and it's an important form as well. Let's say I create a record. When I create a record, the functionality of this form is to bring in some important notifications to be visible to the end users whenever they are logging into the system. So this notification is to indicate that this is a training build. So the just description you are giving, crossing. I essentials user. This is an essentials training build. Please use this build for all your training practice. Note that the data entered by you will be visible default training. Some information, right? It's a rich text editor. So I'm just highlighting this information here. And this node, I want to mark it in italics and underline it. So I've done all this requested by, I'm the one who is requesting it. I'm the trainer putting it. I'm requesting it on this time and I'm publishing this. I'm marking it as published. Now I have done this. I save this record. Once I save it, because it is already published, now when I log out from this system, the next time I log back in, I see that notification available here. You see, this is an essentials training build. Please use this build for all your training broad practice. And then because it's a rich text editor, whatever edited rich text that I put in, it is given as an important notification for the users when they log into the system. You can maintain hundreds of important notifications. However, you can always mark only one as the published one so that that latest published notification is available in the login page. When I expand functional configuration, important notifications, you can create any number of important notifications, but keep in mind that you can only publish one of them. The latest published notification is what will be shown on the login page. Now, if I want to unpublish this, I can go edit this record and clear this checkbox and save this record. Now, because this is not published anymore, and I log back in, I will not see this notification. Moving on to the last couple of topics under functional configuration, which is report configurations. So under report configurations, we have report logo. So whenever I'm generating a report, now I'm in my project again. I go back to the example that I was trying to explain. So this is the budget estimates form, right? In here, if I want to select a report and create a details report, select a record and I create a details report. The report that I see, there is a logo that appears right here. This logo is what you're entering here. Mostly customers would want to provide their customer logo here, and whatever logo that I put will be available in the report. Typically, reports are generated, published as PDF, exported, and sent out to a larger audience who may or may not have access to essentials. So they would want to manage their marketing mechanisms by putting their customer's logo, company's logo. So that is what you provide here. The next field is fiscal year start month. It has a series of months here. If I put any of these months based on which the report, when I generate a report, I am providing a date that 2020 to 2021. How will the system know from which month in 2020 to which month in 2021 should this report be generated? So if you put a month here, if I say 2020, it will automatically pick the January month of 2020 till the current date. If I put any other date month here, it will pick, if I say 2020, it will think the system will decide that the fiscal start year of 2020 is from July. So it will pick the report of all the records from July 2020 till whatever end date that you have provided. And it is also important for you to know this field because you know for a fact that reports can be subscribed to. So when there is a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription of report, how will the system know? When there is a yearly subscription, how will the system know at what time of the year will I have to generate this report and send out to these people? You have to put the month here, and this month will determine what time of the year. Every year in the month of January, the report will get generated and sent out to these people because they have subscribed for an yearly subscription. So that is what this field signifies. Now let me go to the grids below this. This is the project summary dashboard, budget health, schedule health, portfolio project distribution. So these are the health related information. You see here that minimum and maximum 0 and 80 green, 81 to 95 yellow, 96 to 100 are red. So what it indicates is these are the numbers. I'll go to the guide and explain it to you a little more. So in here, going to the report management section. So in report management, we have all this information configuring a report to define a minimum and maximum value insights of project schedule and budget. You are providing this information. In Essentials, when I go to the list page, you will see these projects marked in different colors in the list page. You see these projects marked in different colors. These are based on the health of the project. If I go to this project, the dashboard of the project will clearly tell me what is the health of that project. So you see this budget, it's yellow colored, resource is yellow colored, schedule is yellow, scope is on track, but overall, because there are 3 yellows and 1 green, the project isn't red. All these are configured in the health report. So if the budget value is 80 units above or 0 to 80 units above the original budget, then the budget health is green. If the budget unit is 81 to 95, this unit is something that is determined by the backend technical team. 81 to 95, these numbers will determine how the health is determined, the color coding is determined. Then it is yellow. If it is above 96 and 100, if that is the range, anything above 100 also, the budget health is in red. Similarly, if the particular task is delayed by 1 day to 80 days, it is in red. Or something on those lines, I think I can come back to you with these two grids, but let me talk about the billings and payments. Pay estimate spending approval days. You know for a fact that when a contractor is raising a pay estimate or an item posting, we need to generate a pay estimate and we have to pay the contractor during a particular time period. You are providing the number of days beyond which a pay estimate cannot be staying as pending approval. That estimate has to be approved for the contract to get paid. So here you are providing 17 as the number of days. So if for a particular contract, if a pay estimate is generated, 17 days from the day on which the pay estimate is generated, that record needs to be approved and the payment needs to be released to the contract. If it goes beyond that, a notification will be sent to the contract management. The next is risks and issues dashboard. Like I mentioned, when a risk is created, let's say it is created today, 17 days from today, if the risk is still not resolved, then that will be marked as a risk that is past due date. If there is an issue record that is created 17 days from today, if that issue is still not resolved and closed, that issue will be marked as an issue which has passed the due date. So that is the number that you are provided here. Based on all this, your dashboard will give you that information. Right now, this particular record doesn't have that level of information, but if I go to the Cover Street extension, that has a solid dashboard which tells you all that information. While it loads, I go back to here and continue with the rest of the two fields as well. Another information you see here is top high priority issues, top high priority risks, and it says 10. What does this indicate? Every issue and risk will have categorization. Severe risks, moderate risks, low risks. All the risks which are marked as severe, again, that severity is determined based on certain fields that you would enter in the functional form. I will tell you when I talk about that. But based on the combination of options that you select, the severity of that risk will be determined. All the risks that are marked as high severity, how many risks are there that needs to be brought into the dashboard? If there are 20 risks identified in the risk register form, out of which 15 of them are high priority risks. But you won't want to see all 15 of them in the dashboard. You'd want to see an n number of reports or n number of risks, which are high priority risks that you want to see in the dashboard. That n is what you're determining here. Out of 100 risks that are identified, I want to see the top 10 of them in my dashboard so I can act on them. Likewise, if there are 100 issues that are listed there, out of which I want to see the top 10 issues in my dashboard, I'm putting that 10 number here. If I put 5 here, then my dashboard will only show top 5 high priority risks and top 5 high priority issues. Let me see. Yes, right here, you see here, tasks past due date is 153, which is in red. So some of the highlights that I mentioned here, these schedule which have some kind of a health, RFIs that have past due date, schedules that have a 64% of variance, budgets that are minus 12%. So that means the original budget allocated have been consumed and more has also been consumed. That's why it says minus 12. Based on all this combination, the overall project health is determined. Likewise, if I scroll down, the dashboard of each contract value is displayed. Risks and issues. There is a dashboard for risks and issues as well. If I go and try to view that, you would see highest priority issue risk, there is one. Six issues, risks that are past due date. And based on that, the severity likelihood is also captured here. So you would notice all this information. This list is triggered based on what you are providing here. There are 10 risks that we have put, right? Up to 10 high priority risks can be displayed in the dashboard. How up to 10 high priority issues can be displayed in the dashboard. Right now, we do not have 10. Whatever was available is shown in the dashboard. Okay? So that's what you do in report configurations. There is just one more form under functional configurations. I'll quickly walk you through that, which is report subscriptions. As I showed you, there are various reports that can be generated at various stages in Essentials. If I want to see budget report on a periodic format, this is the budget management report gallery. I'm seeing the budget estimate details report. Now this is the report for BE1. I am viewing the report. This is the report detail. I want to subscribe to this report. So I click subscribe and I go to schedule 2. I want to provide it as lionel.alvin@aurigo.com, right? Subject is budget estimate report weekly. So these are the details that I'm providing. And in schedule details, I'm providing weekly. Repeat after this number every week on Monday at 9 a.m. Subscribing to this report. If I provided all the key details and I've subscribed to this, what will happen is this subscription will get triggered and I will start getting this particular report generated and sent to my email ID on a weekly basis. System will automatically generate and send it to me. Now, if I go back to this and I refresh this page, that subscription will start appearing here. So what we need to keep in mind is, as an end user, I can go ahead and subscribe to any report. But will I be able to stop that subscription manually? I may not be able to do so. Only an administrator has the ability to do so. How will they do that? They will come to the report subscriptions form and they will see all the reports that are being subscribed to by different users. They can select any record and click delete. So they are basically deleting the subscription. So they have deleted one subscription. If I had subscribed for two reports, out of which one I do not want to get subscribed anymore, I write to my administrator. I ask them to unsubscribe that report for me. They can come here and unsubscribe that report. So I'll stop receiving that report generated to my email ID because that subscription is cancelled by the administrator. That is report subscriptions form.